This is Solid Snake, and you're listening to This Week in Geek with Mike the Birdman and the rest of the Twig crew on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
And now it's time for another special feature.
Hegel, what's the front on bitch?
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net, and this is the prototype, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am one of your hosts this afternoon, this morning, or whenever you are listening to this in the space-time continuum. I'm Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as we trek through the post-Summer Games Fest hangover, as Ken and Alex have slugged through multiple hours, a literal multiverse of trailers and showcases and blah, blah, blah. Welcome, Ken and Alex. How are you both doing this morning?
Very tired.
You guys are machines for the amount of coverage. Like, fuck IGN. Look at us.
Well, there's an overlap. There is an overlap of a lot of this stuff.
There's a lot.
There's like, if you add up every single showcase, and we didn't watch every single, because there's like some.
There was like, so much more. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there were like a few that we didn't during that same time period that we didn't watch that were very specific to, like, this one's only for FPS games, and this one's only for this type of indie, but it's also this type of indie. And then there were ones that came in the interim in between, before I guess Nintendo did their final one, and that those were like IGN coverage, where IGN was doing like traditional E3 stuff, where they used to do, like, remember the IGN Live or Game Trailers Live? It was like that, but you're like, oh, it's just interviews with people, but then they would sprinkle in one or two trailers that were from a company that wasn't shown anywhere else, and it's like, damn it, don't do that. Don't do that, because then you make me have to sit through like 4 hours to find what your trailer is until you upload it. Or you had, what was the other one? Limited Run Games, I think, just did theirs, and
yeah, and they announced a fuck ton of shit.
Yeah, like, it's cool, but like, I don't know if it needs to be covered, because they're all games that have been out before. So one of the interesting things about Limited Run Games, before they had their sort of downfall recently of how they've lowered the quality of their releases.
Cough, cough, Embracer Groove. Cough,
Yeah.
cough.
Burnt discs instead of pressed discs, which aren't even playable in certain devices. That debacle to save money. But like, was it? This is like the third or fourth year, maybe fourth year, that they were doing their own E3 / showcase. I think they did something really small at the final E3 in 2019, where it was like, hey, we got like 3 things, but they started having a real showcase. And the reason it was worth watching their stuff initially was sometimes they were not just doing old games, they were announced as publishers and premiering brand new games, and they were also a digital publisher. We did 1 or 2 reviews for them. I remember they sent me stuff back when they were actually publishing digital. They don't publish digital at all anymore. So I don't know why we'd watch it. So we didn't do those, but if you add everything up, it's probably 24 straight hours you could watch.
That's insane.
With about probably 9 hours of overlap of trailers between all of them. And it's like, so it's still like 15 hours. And
it's way too much for me, man.
Well, and it's interesting because technically there was probably more at the original E3,
Yeah.
but you would just never, ever, ever be able to see it all.
Yeah.
It's
Well, yeah, because you'd have to be wandering the show floor, or you'd have to be invited to the access only stuff.
Even in the last
Right?
10 years of E3, when they were streaming it or giving, conference trailers, you only ever really saw 8 hours. And that's if you not only watched like the 2-hour press conferences for the 3 majors, that's if you included Konami and all them, and those were all distinct and you could get them all at once, and that was fine. But there's easily double that now with all the indie stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's really cool to see how a lot of indie publishers and developers are doing some really incredible work in the space. Like I know Alex and Ken
They're
put
keeping,
together.
Yeah, they're basically keeping the industry alive as AAA
Yeah.
flounders.
Like there's been some really neat stuff because I know you and Alex and Ken had put together a sort of mini condensed showcase for me. Like Alex and I were talking about this on the main show this week. Right. You cut together like, here's stuff I think you're gonna like, and I liked about 80% of what I saw, which means I probably would have liked about 30% had I watched everything.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's
about.
probably more indie stuff that you might have been interested in, but I did not include, like, just for the listeners out there, what I did was I had already made the multiple trailer highlights that I put on the YouTube channel for anybody to watch that followed along with our prototype coverage. Didn't do one for Nintendo because the whole thing was worth watching.
The whole thing.
so I was like, I don't think I can cut this down. Like, because there wasn't a single game shown that I don't think was worth somebody seeing. Whereas
I mean,
100%.
There's one that we can think of, and we like already gave it some shit.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's on a personal level. Like, there wasn't anything I would say that was purely objectively horrible except for Funko.
Yeah.
But like, that might be somebody's bag. They might like that. Okay, so like,
I mean, the game itself. The concept makes sense. It's just this is.
It just feels about 5 years too late. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's 10 years too late for Spyro Funko Edition.
Yeah, and it's so weird because like in one of the things, like we're gonna jump all over the place, folks.
Yeah,
so this is
just the intro, like a little bit overview of how the landscape is as a whole, and then we're gonna break down a little bit into each one.
Yeah, like there were a few things that wowed me. I mean, for me, the game season was saved by one announcement, but that is not representative of my entire opinion of everything because I was the OG gaming guy here for the longest time. Now I'm definitely third place now between you and Ken, which is fine. Like, you know, I'm old and old man yells at 8-bit systems now. So it's like my focus has definitely changed to older games, a lot of newer stuff. It's either going to wow me or it's not. Like there was one trailer.
It's also trends. The trend of what is popular is no longer what you like.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just not into this. Like, for example, I know, Ken, you love roguelites. You like that Hades shit and all that stuff. And that is so frustrating to me. I'm thinking, I hate this. I hate this so much. The only roguelike I've liked, and I put this with an asterisk the size of goddamn Saturn, is the Far Cry one from Far Cry 6, the DLC, because I'm a good shooter player. But if I had to do a roguelike where I'd have to go back and lose all my progress and all my shit, I would pull out what little hair I have because that shit frustrates me to no end.
But it's also why you're not a big fan of Souls-likes as well, because you don't like having... The idea of losing progress frustrates you.
Oh, yeah. Like, I want to see a story. I want an experience. I have people ask me, why do you cheat? Why do you play on easy or story mode? Because I don't want to get frustrated for 15 hours to pass something, to feel something. The sense of accomplishment to me comes from storytelling and narrative, not from, I kicked the fuck out of this boss and cheesed them off a cliff. That's not fun to me.
If I were... Okay, the best way I can explain it, my belief is I'm there for the story and experience mostly. Yes, the gameplay can be exhilarating, but if you're just there, I don't view a game as I need those adrenaline endorphins to fire doing a repetitive task over and over and over again to then just accomplish it and be like, oh my God, I did it. If that was the case, why don't I just play a sport and become a really good athlete?
I was about to say, yeah, I mean, if you want that, go fucking work out.
Or like, if I wanted to do a repetitive task and then get a little tiny reward at the end, I would, I don't know, go get a second job.
Yeah, like
when it comes to these kinds of games, I will go into it going, do I want a story or do I want to face off against a game? It's me versus the game. And to me, the best ones that are like that, where it's like me versus the game, is when the game plays by the same rules that I'm playing by. And that's when that good balance is there. And just going into some of the things that we didn't cover in the main recaps, I did want to do a quick little bit on some of the Summer Games Fest demos that I tried out.
Okay,
Yeah,
go for it.
Perfect. And I played a few too, because I found out that with this year being so heavily focused on indies, most of the indies will play on like low-end video cards.
That's cool.
I do want to highlight the folks that are making the game Pyrene, Pyrene, did send us over code for the demo like a day or two before Next Fest started. And it is a roguelite. It is a card-based puzzly roguelite, and the whole concept is you have a board full of cards, and when you clear a board, that's how you go to the next level. And it's a very fun and addictive little game. And even with the demo, I'm like, I can see myself playing this not only as, say, like this like screams it could work on mobile as well, or like on the Switch or a Steam Deck or whatever. It's very fun, and the art style is simple, but interesting. It's an interesting art style, to say the least. And I had a great time with it. I didn't even touch half of what the demo was giving me, and I had a really good time for like the 2 hours that I spent playing it. And then another one of the games that I want to highlight is Big Boy Boxing. And
oh yeah, that looked
game,
interesting.
It's literally Punch Out. It's just Punch Out.
Indie Punch Out with the same art style.
It's indie Punch Out, and it plays just like Punch Out. And as someone who considers Punch Out one of his favorite games of all time, yep, A+. I did try out a Ranger, which is that
that's the one with the dungeon puzzle shifting, where you shift the world around the character.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh god, my brain. It's one of those puzzly games where you're just like, oh, I have to really think about it at times playing this, because oh god, my brain's going all kinds of directions. It's good. Like I'm excited for the full release when that comes. I think this year, sometime.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of them
It's coming out end of July.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of them looked like they were pretty soon on the Next Fest ones. Very few were like far away. And I played a few demos, and I think because we're going to be going over the different indie showcases, when one pops up, if it pops into your head that, hey, you played the demo, we should mention if it's good or not, because there's a few that I noticed weren't great or had compatibility issues, which is like, oh, it's probably due to my video card or something. Indie games should pretty much play on anything if it's using like a common engine. If it doesn't boot, then there's a problem. But yeah, so I mean, outside of that, for the introductions, we can basically say that Ken, you and I watched pretty much everything. I think.
Yep.
I don't know if was there anything I watched that you didn't.
Just the Japanese showcase. That's about it.
Okay, and there was a lot of overlap with that. So yeah, I watched 5 hours of that, and then Birdman, you've seen Nintendo, and then you saw like a couple highlights of like when I sent you things like Power Rangers or whatever.
Yeah, and I was actually doing a little bit of research while we've just been like kind of chatting here. The one thing I want to talk about, because this premiered at IGN Game Fest, but they showed it off during the like indie showcase, was the G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra. And that's done by a developer called Maple Power Games. So it looks like this is a remarkably small team. I just decided to check them out on Twitter. I have like 20 times the followers they have on Twitter. They have like less than 300 followers. That really kind of surprises me for such a small team. Yeah, like they're very new.
They're brand spanking new team.
I think they're local too, dude. I think they're only like an hour's drive away.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering. I actually may reach out to them after the show, say, hey, we'd love to follow the development for this. We'd love to do interviews. I know the IP fairly well. And that's a game that looks really cool. And I'm actually surprised to see that more people aren't doing this. And we did talk about this briefly on the show, so I'm not going to go over a lot of these same points again. But it's like, you saw, this looks fun. I'm really excited. I hope this turns out well. It doesn't look as good as the Digital Eclipse Power Rangers game, but that's no surprise. But that's another nostalgic IP that I'm really glad to see them adapting, is the Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, and that's Digital Eclipse. It looks like it's pretty much built out of the Ninja Turtles engine for Shredder's Revenge, which again, wonderful title. That game deserves more DLC. What was that?
The cutscenes for the animation.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I did notice as a Power Rangers fan, they are basing it purely on season 1, which means there's no Tommy, no Rocky, Aisha, or anybody else
that we know of.
Yeah, my guess is Tommy will be a DLC character at some point down the road. But the fact that they did multiple styles of gameplay, they do that fake mode 7. I don't know how else to describe it. That like kind of
it's literally mode 7.
Yeah, so they got that. They got vehicle sections. They've got scrolling sections. They got first person sections. That seems like the natural evolution of what you can do with that stuff. And it suits the Power Rangers IP so well. There's a lot of deep cuts in there by using the Power Rangers battle cycles, which were only ever in the show like a couple times. It would not surprise me if there's like a rad bug in there in some capacity. Again, that's fucking fantastic. But I got to agree, the art style looks a little rough because the actress who played the Yellow Ranger, Thuy Trang, her representation in the game, not great. And considering the recent controversies that have happened with Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, maybe I would have went with Rocky on this one, but people love the OG Power Rangers. We want Zach, Kimberly, Trini, Jason, and Billy, because that's the team that everybody loves. Everybody loves MMPR, and especially with the Boom series of comics ending pretty soon. Maybe me and JT will talk about that over the summer. I'm glad they're taking a risk with it. I think it's going to sell tremendously well. I think there will be DLC built in with Tommy for sure. My guess is there may even be like a boss rush mode built in. Again, this is pure speculation on my behalf, but it looks pretty cool. And I hope we see more nostalgic IPs. I know me and Alex talked about the Toxic Avenger comes out later on this year. In fact, had a thought about this, complete sidebar to this. When does the new Toxic Avenger come out? Like, shouldn't that be out already?
They haven't announced when it's coming out. They have just said later this year.
When's Comic-Con?
Next month, middle of the month.
Next month. Oh yeah, it's like
it'll be there.
Middle of the month.
It'll be there. Yeah. So I guess they'll
probably do it to coinciding with the movie that's coming out September.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So we may as well hop into, we're not covering every single, all the showcases. I just grabbed the major ones and we're just sort of giving a quick once-over rundown. We're not going to talk about every single game that was shown, just the ones that were sort of highlights for us. And I opened up the one for the Guerrilla Collective, which, if you listen to the episode that Ken and I did, they're still a little too disorganized when it comes to planning and getting information out of when their
They're
shows
still
start.
uploading trailers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, but I'll mention from the list that they have that I found online from Silicon Era, Disco Samurai. It's that is a PC indie. You are killing enemies to the beat of the music as you dance.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's like a pixel art sort of style. And I played the demo on PC, and what's cool is you can turn on like no fail scenarios too, so that even if you can't get the beat right, you can still play and beat them up and listen to the music. And I thought that was kind of neat. They added that. I'll mention, I can skip a heck of a lot more here. Fallen Aces. That was the first-person shooter that is done to look like a 1940s film noir, but it's like done in that Wolfenstein 3D sort of flat paper look, or like the original Wolfenstein. That had a demo that worked out pretty well. Demon School we'd already talked about. A lot of cool indies. Just a lot of the stuff is either more trailers from stuff that was revealed last year, or stuff that we had talked about previously that had already sort of popped up at the Japanese showcase or some other show at some point. But there wasn't much here, unless you have anything, Ken, that you remember that was like really important that they showed off.
Nothing that we've not already like highlighted, especially during that.
Well, I brought that up because they showed off more of the Toxic Crusaders game, and they showed that they had a demo of it for PC, which I did play, and it's really good, Mike.
Yeah. That's
Like,
exciting. I'm really looking forward to that.
I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, you get to play the first level, and you can only pick one or two characters. But you can still do co-op play for the demo, and you can do the first level
cool.
and beat it up. It plays very similar to X-Men Konami.
Oh, that's fun.
More so like that than the Turtles one,
Mm-hmm.
in the feel and how it moves. So yeah, there's that. That's pretty much it for them. We'll move on to the accessibility one, because this is the one that I think I should have sent you the link to watch the whole thing, Mike. But this is the one that's run where it's all people with disabilities that make games and people that make games that people with disabilities can play. So
what were some of the highlights out of that?
They
Shadow
showed off
over cyberspace.
Yeah, that one. There was Slime Heroes. It was another one that was sort of the bigger title there, which had a trailer that didn't look so great initially until they showed off how you can change all the character backgrounds and highlight things and make it so that, because it looked kind of like things would blend together initially until they like showed how you can change the highlights and everything. Trying to think, there were a few like things that they showed off that were just sort of tech demo-ies right now, but a lot of them were like there was that one called I'm pulling it up here, Periphery Synthetic. That's the weird one where it's like you're guided through like a floating cyberspace sort of light maze. And it's like they're doing a lot of really experimental stuff that can like interact with people's
Senses
and devices that you can have for the computer that helps you out, like to do different input methods and things. And then a lot of games showed off just that a lot of these indie companies now are very, very focused on not just having like accessibility for color blindness, that was sort of the standard go-to for the longest time, or for having like easier modes and that sort of thing. They now are doing things like that completely alter games, like having screen readers and stuff, so that people that maybe are completely blind can actually play with directions on what to do, and putting things in like haptic feedback support where, you can feel when you've, like, if you're playing a 2D platform and you've hit a wall, it'll give you force feedback to let you know, oh, you're at the edge of where you can go. Things like that. So it was kind of cool. Not any specific game beyond this, just they showed off about 10 or 12 different indie titles that were just like using a lot of cool features that I feel in the future are then going to be, a lot of these companies are like making their own toolkits and engines that they're then sharing with other indie creators.
Neat.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. They even had they had a guy on there talking about a game that he was making, and he was somebody who had been slowly, progressively losing his vision. And he was very upset. He thought he could never play games again. He played The Last of Us 1 when his eyesight was still at a point where he could play a little bit, and then he gave up when he couldn't play games anymore. He wanted to play, what was it, like, I think he said it was Kingdom Hearts 3? And he couldn't play it because there were no accessibility options, and he gave up on gaming. And then his brother is like, years later, was like, why don't you play Last of Us Part 2? And he's like, I can't play games. Like, I could barely play the first one. And if you remember, Mike, that was the first game that Sony put out with the big accessibility options. To
100%. Yeah.
To customize.
I was actually very surprised.
And that tool
that has the most insane blind accessibility I've ever seen in a video game.
Audio cues. When an enemy spots you, you can pause the game completely so you can take time to figure out what you need to do. Like, so many different options, make it so that they can't detect you when you're in the ground, like so many things, right? And that tool set is now used across pretty much every Sony first-party title. And he mentioned that was like, when he realized he could play them, that's what made him want to be able to help people make games for people that are blind. So he's like, and I was like, wow, that's actually a really cool story. And that is something to highlight, that Sony, and then also we've mentioned before that Ubisoft, one of the really good things Ubisoft actually does do is they have a good accessibility suite for their AAA games, even to the point where, Mike, when you boot up an Ubisoft title for the first time, since like 2017 or 2018, first thing it does is it has the audio
accessibility option. Yeah.
And it brings you right into that menu to turn it on or off. And that's something that I feel like everybody should do it for the first boot.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it should give you like, hey, what do you want to do? Here's your menu descriptors, what accessibility options. Because because you don't know. I mean, unless you have an able-bodied person with you, you don't know. So yeah.
Like they always do it now with Ubisoft, where it's like, here's the audio description. It always has that on the descriptive video. And then the first thing you turn off is that, if you want to turn it off. Like, and I guess the only thing would be, like, if you're both blind and deaf, you're kind of screwed, because that's going to be a tougher challenge to get around. Is if you're blind and can't hear, how do you play a game? How do you play a visual audio medium? But that's a good compromise, at least for the most part. As far as the next one, which is we're going to talk about the future of play. We're not going to talk about the future game show, which is different, Michael, by the way. 2 shows with the name Future in the title on the same day. One is a corporate sponsored one, and one is indie one, and the indie one was the better one. This one, they had some overlap with some of the previous ones. Let me see, was there anything major?
I wanted to I'm just gonna go through the highlights that I had.
Sure, you were ahead.
Abyss Cross Zero, or Abyss Zero, which is the PS2 anime game.
Right, yes.
The best way to describe it. And then Battlesuit Aces, which is the Battle Chef Brigade devs doing that.
Yeah, that looked cool.
And their sequel. And I know we just recently were talking about it in our local chat, which was Slay the Princess, which I can't justify the price that they're asking for.
$270.
I think that's absolutely outrageous, but whatever. And I like the art style, but I know it's going to
be very divisive. I think you're either going to like it or you're going to hate it. I think.
Yes.
I don't think there's 100%. Really going to be any in between, especially at that price point. Like, Michael, it's $279 for the collector's edition. for an indie
What
title.
the fuck do you get
it's-
with it? It better be like limited run, super high quality at that price. What do you
it's
get?
Serenity Forge is doing it.
But most Serenity Forge special editions, they do like decent ones, Mike, like the old style ones where they used to have like plushies and stuff. But
Plushies and statues and shit.
most of them are like $150 Canadian. This one for some reason is $280.
I believe the collector's comes with.
You better give you a night of companionship at that price. That's all I'm saying. Jesus, guys.
Which just comes with a coupon for one of the ranches in Nevada.
Yeah, it comes with
Come to the Bunny Ranch. Brought to you by this
Okay,
game
so
company.
the collector's comes with a statue, a acrylic standee, a keychain.
Show me a picture of this. I've got to see this.
I'll send it to you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, a metal bookmark, some stickers.
It's
an
about
enamel pin.
It's like a $50 game with $50 worth of extras, and they're charging $150 on top of that.
That's insane.
It's 200 US.
Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
fam, not even a little bit.
Okay, I'll say
Not
Rah
my
Rah Boom had a demo that was pretty good too. That's just the side-scrolling beat 'em up circa 90 style thing, but a little more taller sprites. I would say out of the rest of the stuff that they showed off, one thing of note, Mike, is there is a game called All Systems Dance. That
looked neat.
Okay, that Cassie made that.
Get the fuck out! That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it was part of her team. She was on that team. I forget the name. It's a new studio, and they're based out of Toronto, obviously. And that was they announced the game at the showcase. It was, I think, one of the opening games that they showed. And I was like, when I saw it, I was like, Ontario Creates. It had the Ontario Media Fund and everything. Like, cool new studio. And then Cassie's popped up in my timeline, and it's like, I can finally talk about this damn game I've been working on. And it's like, oh, okay. So I'll like make sure we'll highlight that because it actually looks kind of cute. It's clearly inspired by Hi-Fi Rush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also want to point out Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip, which will eventually come to consoles once they patch some stuff, because the game is done and it's complete, but like in order to get on consoles it needs some bug fixes and some patches. It needs to patch a couple of holes in the geometry and shit.
There was a game that Alec. Oh, sorry.
It's
Ken,
loose.
Go ahead.
It's a very loose game. I've bought and played it on PC. I can tell it needs a little bit of a tune-up before it hits consoles, but it is a funny game. I enjoyed it. I was laughing my whole way through.
There was one game that Alex sent me that I think has a phenomenal looking art style, and it reminds me a lot of A Boy and His Blob, like the one that used to be on the NES and then later on the Wii. I think it's called Deer Boy.
Deer Boy.
Looks,
that was at one of the other showcases. Yeah,
that looks really cool. I love the art style on that one.
That is going to make me cry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've got a feeling it's going to be really good.
For sure. I'm trying to think. There was another one, the pinball one I really liked. That was I am not I think it was marketed as a Pinballvania.
Okay, that's weird.
It's straight up Sonic Spinball.
Yeah, Sonic Spinball meets Metroidvania, that you're leveling up the ball and it gets to certain areas and you'll get powers that can open up other pathways. So if you fall back down to the beginning of the world, you can then go in a different pathway to get more power-ups. So think like Metroidvania meets Pinball. What was that one? Pinball Quest for the NES, where it was like an RPG mixed with Sonic Spinball. And I played the demo of that for like 3 hours and couldn't get very far because I realized the demo was limiting where I could go. I didn't even know it. I'm like, why can't I get farther? Oh, that's why the demo doesn't seem to like end. It just doesn't let you go further. But I was like, this is fun. I like a good pinball game. So there's a few things like that. But then may as well jump into the Latin American Game Showcase, which I didn't really put much in your trailer highlight, Mike. But this was like the most surprising showcase. They had an unbelievable amount of games, second only to like the Japanese one, which had like 100 and some odd.
It was absolutely insane.
It was 70 games, all by indie studios, and unlike in the past where most Latin American games were made specifically for like mobile phones because it's the only thing that they could really afford. Like it's like that market down south went from like the Sega Master System, and then they skipped everything and went to mobile phone because it's all they could afford. Well, now with the advent of cheaper PCs and
Mini PCs, yeah.
mini PCs that have onboard video that can do indie games, they've got like a very big thriving indie market there that is like as good, if not better, than what's happening in the indie market anywhere else. So they showed off,
and also a lot of them are from Brazil. And if you are a fan of animation, Brazilian animation is insane.
Yeah, because unlike most of the world outside of Asia, where our animation is all basically rooted in American and pretty much American animation. It's like, because I was going to say even like in Europe, it's like even European animation is still pretty much rooted in American animation.
There are only two places in the world where animation, I think, is superior in terms of American-ish style, and that is Brazil, which kind of is a mixture of Japanese anime and American style.
Yeah.
And French.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's but whereas like French animation still has a very much more American look. Brazilian animation is like 90% influenced by anime because it was way the hell cheaper for them to just buy a bunch of anime back in the day and then dub it themselves than it was to make their own. And then when the people grew up, that's what they used. So there's a lot of that. But they showed off a crap ton. A lot of RPGs that are inspired by like 1990s style Saturn and PS1. Like they even had a game I played a demo of that is based on like Mischief Makers on the N64. I'm like, what the fuck? How is this happening? But yeah, like there were too many to go over. Just know, Mike, that like the big thing with the South American games right now is mid to late 90s style. A lot of stuff. Yeah. There was
a lot of PS1.
I've noticed. There's a weird trend, like PS1 N64 era stuff is making a weird comeback right now.
PS1
early 3D nostalgia is hit.
Early 3D or the 2.5D where it was 3D world but on a 2D plane.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of RPGs which you can go on our list and look at. I did include at least one in the trailer package for you. That was the Naughty Goose or whatever.
Yeah, that looked. Yeah. I love the art style on that. Probably way too hard for me, but I'm like, this looks really. It's energetic and lively.
It's Yoshi's Island meets 90s Disney game.
Yeah, I'm like, this looks really friggin' neat.
The other one that they showed off that I wanted to highlight was Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire. That is the Skies of Arcadia inspired game, which I did get a confirmation. I'll be getting a review copy of that when it goes live.
I played the demo and
so did I.
Yep.
I played the demo for about 15 minutes and I went, nope, turning this off. I'll wait till I get the review copy because I don't want to.
I went through the whole demo, which is like the opening bit, the opening sequence, which goes to the point where the game kind of opens up. So you just get like the introduction and intro to all the characters and whatnot, and then the big thing happens, and that kicks the plot along.
Yeah, and I was playing it on PC, and I wanted to make sure that I could, because I'm going to be probably reviewing it on a console, so I can't like keep my save. So I was like, nope, I'm going to stop this before I get upset that I can't complete this right now. And the other one that I was really surprised with is a completely different art style, and I think I included it in your trailer package, which was Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. That's the game that looks like a Game Boy Advance title, where you're walking around and you've got a cursed yo-yo that can like bounce off walls and hit enemies, and it feels like a long lost like Nintendo property almost.
No, that wasn't in my package, but this sounds weird. I'm interested.
Okay, I played that demo and I was like, oh yes, oh I'm good. I'm so gonna play this. Pixel art looks awesome, feels awesome. It feels like something, like it's better than the NES, but it's clearly supposed to be like GBA. But like I'm trying to think what company would have made it. It feels like something Konami like Konami or Capcom would have made on the NES. Or like Sunsoft.
No, it feels more like something like akin to the Capcom Zelda games that were on Game Boy Advance.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Because it's faster moving, and that was actually like super fun. That little, I played a little bit of Key Locker, which is an RPG. Looks good, but I didn't want to get too far.
Key Locker. I tried a little bit of it, and I was just like, all right, I'm already sold on this game. I don't need to play anymore.
That's generally how it is. I think if a demo is really good, then you shouldn't complete it unless you know you're going to be able to carry the save forward.
Yeah.
And there were a few other ones that we could have looked at, but like just know that there's a lot of really good indie RPGs. Like that seems to be the big thing. Indie RPGs and platformers.
Yep.
I guess I'll highlight one final one from here before we move on to one of the other showcases, and that's Heaven Crawler. That's the game that is a mixture of Tunic. Do you remember what Tunic was, Mike? That's
the weird Fox game, right?
The Fox Zelda clone. Think that mixed with Ico for the PS2.
Oh, okay.
And it looks exactly like a mixture of those two together.
Yeah, I also want to highlight Mariachi Legends. That game is currently in development. Huge successful Kickstarter. This is the same developers of Nine Shadows, which was also a really cool Metroidvania. This is a Metroidvania kind of inspired by Mexican folklore, Day of the Dead kind of stuff. It looks great. I'm one of the backers on their Kickstarter. I'm super excited for it.
There was one that, okay, what was the name of the game that came from the Bloomhouse Studios people?
Okay, we'll get to that because that's in the next showcase we're going to talk about.
Yeah, because I was like, what am I looking at here? I'm very interested, though.
We'll dig into that in a minute. I think that's probably pretty much it. Like, if there's anything else that we didn't highlight here that you wanted to hear, you can probably check it out on one of our previous podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess we should move into what would be the proper shows, which are the Jeff Fest, Summer Game Fest, Jeff Fest Live,
E3, Jeff Fest. There are so many different names that people are making up for it.
Yeah, like it just, I guess it used to be like, it's like, what if you took the old game trailers, TV, like, is basically like more ads version of like reviews on the run,
G-Force,
that sort of shit. But this time, I'll tell you this, Mike, because you didn't watch very few actual commercials. There was one. And it was hilariously terrible and ran on forever. And it was some bullshit gotcha game.
Some mobile game bullshit.
But I'll send you the trailer because you'll want to watch because you're like, by the way, I think it cost like $5 million to put that ad in there.
Yeah, it did. And that went to most of the celebrity cast for that commercial.
Because it was Chris Hemsworth, Christina Ricci, Ken Jeong,
Dolph Lundgren.
There's like 7 or 8 celebrities, and they're all dressed up as stupid characters from the game, and it was terrible.
You're breaking my brain. Like, how do you convince Dolph Lundgren? Hey, do you want to put on a silly costume?
He puts on like a Conan the Barbarian costume.
Yeah, Squad Busters was the name of this stupid game.
Okay. Chris Hemsworth's playing a barbarian, so then Dolph Lundgren plays the Kmart version of the same barbarian, which was a lost opportunity to have him dress up as the Masters of the Universe costume. They should have done that.
That would have been awesome.
but he didn't. He showed up and I'm like, oh, your knees look so stiff, buddy. I feel for you. Like,
I'm just gonna post in our local chat of the picture on the note on the article you put in the notes. Alex says it all, and it's just Ken Jeong in the ad.
Yeah.
Just like says it all.
What the fuck?
Hey, I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken. That's what he says. Hey, I'm a chicken. And
Yeah.
You know he drove out to whatever studio this was in Burbank. What am I doing today?
How much are you paying me?
hey, here's $100,000 to do a stupid promo commercial for this goddamn game. And by the way, Chris Hemsworth and Dolph Lundgren's going to be there, and you're all going to get to have lunch at catering. That's pretty much what it was.
That
Pretty
is
much.
Jesus, man. Can you? I would love to be the marketing rep who had to pitch this to someone.
Oh, it was
just
so
begging.
It was so bad. There's probably clips of it online where, because we read that it was like $250,000 for 30 seconds for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
or something.
that I saw.
And
yeah.
this ran on for like 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
It was long.
It was at least 3 minutes or more. And when you thought it was over, it would go to another section. It was like this goddamn scene from Rick and Morty where the commercial doesn't end for the guy selling the doors. The doors to nowhere.
Yes.
He drives home and all.
Yes.
That's what this shit was. And then when it was finally over, you thought it was over. No, then they're just sitting there eating ice cream for no reason, still talking. And it's like, oh my god.
Just die.
It ends, and when it comes back, the crowd is silent. Nobody clapped. Nobody laughed. Yeah. And Jeff just goes, okay, moving on.
Moving on.
And it's like, oh my god, like because it was the commercial that paid for the whole show. So he couldn't. But the look on his face was, oh god, it just killed the mood of the entire show. But anyway, beyond that, there weren't very many ads at all. Surprisingly, there wasn't like any bullshit ads for Samsung televisions or anything.
There was one Samsung television ad,
but it wasn't hosted by like Linus or somebody for like 5 minutes straight. It was normal, and they didn't really have like major celebrities show up. But just to briefly go over it, that one opened with the Lego Horizons.
Yeah. Okay, I have got to talk about this because this is one of the weirdest collaborations with the Lego brand I can think of. Like Horizon Zero Dawn and Lego does not seem like a partnership that should exist. Like literally, this seems like Sony executives throwing darts at a board, saying, "Who should we talk to today?" And I'm pretty
sure the folks at Gorilla are close to the Lego building. Like they in the same
they must be in the same industrial park or something, and somebody ran into them getting like Chipotle or something.
This is apparently listed like internally. They have 3 types of games that they're making, and one of the new categories was experimental to try to grow a brand. This was apparently an experimental project because it is Guerrilla making it, but the vast majority of the programming is done by, I forget that other studio, who was apparently a studio that did the ports of Lego games to other platforms. So the TT, the Traveler's Tales, they would do like whatever the main target platform, and then they would do the Switch ports. So people thought, oh, is this company developing it? No, this was entirely developed by Guerrilla. This is the next Guerrilla game. The only difference is that team that did the ports to the Switch of all the Lego games was heavily working with them on how the engine should work. Yeah. So, and they were able to make basically a Lego game without the input of Warner Brothers at all.
Wow.
Yep.
So interesting. That's why the world is now finally made out of Lego. If you look at all the previous games, it was just the Lego characters interacting with a normal video game world. Now they actually move around on like actual Lego, but they showed it off, and that was the big surprise at the end was when it was coming to PC and Switch, not going to Xbox.
It's not surprising that it's going to PC because again, Sony has been heavily trying to use PC to leverage that market to be brought over to PlayStation, which is never going to happen. As a PC gamer, it's not going to happen. What they think is going to happen isn't happening.
Yeah, the surprising thing is that it's a kids game coming to PC. There's really not that many family games on PC from major studios.
I mean, they've already ported Sackboy over, but I don't think that sold well.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not. PC is like,
it's a weird decision unless they're just like blanketing their entire thing where it's just like, we want to port everything that we do to PC.
Maybe.
I mean, if you're playing games as a kid on a PC, from what I've seen, you're playing Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, maybe a few other small games. You're going to consoles for the major experiences for the major franchises.
Yeah. So, but
I mean,
or if you're a kid, you're playing it on Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was cool. It looks good. Like, it actually looks decent.
It looks amazing for what it's worth.
So beyond that, what they showed off, Mike, was I'm skipping anything that looks like crap, except for Harry Potter Quidditch Champions.
Whoa, oh fuck! That is a brand I don't know.
That game looks bad. It's like $20.
The game looks worse than the game that came out in the early 2000s that people still adore
on PS1.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Jesus, guys, time to grow up.
And it's like
it's also a free to play live service game.
Oh, yeah. So that'll be gone in about 6 months.
And they showed off Star Wars Outlaws, which actually looks good. Which we're not covering the Ubisoft showcase because all they showed was more of this. They showed the cinematic for this. At the Ubisoft one, they showed the gameplay. It looks fine. We'll get to play it probably later on. Hopefully we get to play a demo. We'll probably review it. Yada yada.
Oh, for sure.
You pretty much know whether or not you're going to like it or not. The Civilization 7 was announced. The biggest surprise out of that was that Sid Meier is still alive, because I thought he died
at least
25
to you,
years ago.
Because I knew he was still alive.
But did you know, Michael, that he's from like Sarnia?
I did not actually.
Yeah, he's a local boy, and he's just like a sweet old grandpa that makes strategy games every 5 years. And I was like,
we're going to resurrect Sid Meier.
I thought he died at the same time that like Tom Clancy died. I thought they like died at the same year, and it's like, nope, he's still around.
No.
Suicide
he's
Pact.
Still around, and he's running Firaxis still.
Yeah, he's running a studio. It's like he's got some sort of grandfather deal where EA's not allowed to fuck with him. That's pretty much it.
Did I ever tell you guys that Firaxis was going to bring me out to their studio once upon a time?
Really?
Yeah, they were developing a game. It was a music game. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember I was in pretty serious conversation with someone at their PR company saying, hey, can I come out to the studio? They're like, yeah, sure, let's have a conversation. And then the 2008 recession hit, and you can guess where that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're in Maryland. If it was in Sarnia, if he was still there, you could just be like, all right, I'll be there in 3 hours. And you just
I will see you soon, buddy. Do you want anything on the way down?
You want Tim's on the way in? You go pick up some Timmy's for him. But yeah, I don't think Sid might still live in Sarnia, but I don't think the studio is there. I think he's
it's Maryland. It's Maryland.
But yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, this is pleasantly surprising. I legit thought he had died. I thought he was because he's one of the last guys that was a Western developer that was so famous that his name would get attached above the game title.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like him and Will Wright.
One of the legends.
It's him, Will Wright. Like, as far as Western developers, it's him, Will Wright. I think those
John Romero.
Oh, John Romero. Yeah, John Romero, Roberta Williams, and that's like the four. There might be one more that actually get their name like always above the title of the game. Like, I guess Richard Garriott maybe with the old Ultima stuff, but like,
yeah,
that's it for there's a bunch in the UK that were like that, but like he's like the Kojima of strategy games, right? So
Yep.
it was like, oh, yeah, I'm happy he's still alive. And then I immediately showed my brother, and he's like, oh my God, Civ. He's like, I'm gonna melt my PC, and I'm like, what? He goes, I'm gonna have to upgrade to
You
a
will
50.
melt.
He's got a Threadripper and a 4090. He's like, I'm gonna have to get a 5090. I'm like, why? He's like, it will melt my PC. And he's like, he's probably using like goddamn cloud computer to make the game. And I'm like, oh, because I'm like, how bad is it? He goes, I have a 4K ultra wide monitor, and the last Civ that came out like 6 years ago, I only get 60 frames per second out of that. And I'm like, what? He goes, with a $4,000 computer, because it's calculating every little goddamn thing that possibly, like the town's got 2,000 people in it. Well, it's going to show 2,000 sprites, shit like that.
Yeah.
So
Absolute insanity.
But at least people know that they'll be playing it for the next 7 or 8 years. It'll be a benchmark for strategy players.
And usually, and here's the thing: usually, Civ games don't get like mass in terms of like mass appeal. Civ games will be another year before it really becomes super prolific and mass marketed.
Because it was really like Civ 5 got somewhat in the mainstream. Civ 6 was the breakout, though, like, because it just became, in the age of streaming, it became a big thing to watch people do like large, massive campaigns. But yeah, beyond that, we'll skip a bunch of the stuff there. They showed off Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I figured you'd like that. They gave the release date of October 11th. So I figured you already figured that out.
Oh yeah, like I've been following the Sparking Zero development pretty closely. I follow a YouTuber by the name of Burkle, very excited for it. I also follow a guy, I think his name is SOL Plays or Slow Plays. Showed off a lot of really cool gameplay for that. It looks neat. Like I play, like my comfort game, or that I play every day for like 10-15 minutes, is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. And with Sparking Zero, the thing that I like about it is that you can make your own custom scenarios, and you can change how the characters interact. You can write your own cutscenes. There's going to be some very cool things that come out of the community for this. And when the mod scene gets a hold of it, like, I might get my Super Saiyan Raditz. I'm very excited for that. So
yeah, I mean,
that game's going to be awesome.
I just want to play as Mr. Satan the whole time. Hercule.
There is a Super Saiyan Hercule from Dragon Ball Super, so that's pretty fucking sick.
Yep, it's weird as hell. Also, I want to highlight Street Fighter 6 Year 2 completely outlined. We're getting Bison like literally this week as we're recording. Bison's out this week. Terry from Streets of Rage. What?
Yeah, this was during when I had the watch party and I had a few people over and we're watching, and I was like walking in, and I didn't know that they had never had guest characters from other franchises or other companies in a mainline game before ever, like a not like crossover game. But I was like, is that Terry? And my buddy's like, no. I'm like, are you sure it's not Terry? And then Mai was there, and he goes, what the fuck? It was full on like, they're actually doing that. And then and that led off into the whole craziness that we found out of what's happening with more games later on. We'll talk about, as Birdman's probably getting a chub just thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
And now we can talk very briefly about the actually no, I'll mention this, Michael. There is a Delta Force first-person shooter game, which is big deal. Okay, it's just another first-person shooter, looks generic. That somehow, in some reason, the single-player campaign is licensed missions based on scenes from the Black Hawk Down movie from 2001.
Okay. Yep. Fucking why?
Don't know.
Nobody idea.
Or nobody knows or why. Okay. But yes, Blumhouse. So Blumhouse came out and announced that they are now a publisher for games.
Okay,
and they're
cool.
And they're basically doing the same thing they do with their movies.
They're finding indie creators and directors that do pitches for them. They if you make a demo and pitch it to them, they might invest a set amount of money, less than $1 million, and they'll publish it, share the profits with you, and they'll fully distribute amongst all platforms. So
also just to note, one of the games had already technically been released on PC, and it was not a good launch, and they pulled it from Steam, and now Bloomhouse is helping fund the rest of the
Polish it
game.
up. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're part of what they're going to do as well is they're going to, if you're having trouble finishing it, like you have a really good concept, they will help pay for the contracted out work to help get your game finished.
Yep.
Oh.
And they've got 6 titles to launch. It seems to be that they're coming out basically one every 2 or 3 months is what they're going to be doing. And they're also on the medium.
And they're also probably using this to say, hey, we can make a movie out of this.
Yes, so that's part of the, depending on what the deals are going to be, the idea will be, hey, if the game is really successful from an indie creator, they'll have the option to make it into a larger property where you've got profit sharing on. Or some of the titles, 2 of them are going to be games created by directors that have made movies for them before. So
Right.
Cronenberg's son is making them a game.
Yeah, I thought I saw that particular name, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so cool. Basically, they're going to be the Devolver for horror.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is going to be good. And then they showed off the Power Rangers game, which we talked about. Looks great, except for the animation looks like hot garbage. Deer and Boy. So that
I love.
I'm going to cry so hard.
I love the note in the article you posted. Sad deer game alert.
Yeah. It's pretty much. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Did you see the Slitterhead trailer, Mike?
I did not.
Creator of Resident Evil, or one of the creators?
Yes, the original creator of. No, it's the original
Shinji
creator of
Mikami?
Silent Hill.
Oh, Silent
Oh,
Hill.
that
Sorry.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Guy. Who has nothing to do with the new ones. He's got its own
Has
studio.
nothing to do with anything Silent Hill since
Konami.
like 3.
Game where you're mind-jacking people with an alien parasite that can then use your own blood and limbs to destroy other aliens.
Yep. It's basically for anime fans, it's basically Parasite, the anime, made into a game.
What if the Thing was like a brain slug that could turn you into the Thing?
Oh, okay.
And you're like, if your body gets destroyed, you as the parasite hop out of the dead body into a nearby bystander and take over their body and then mutate it to attack other enemies.
Oh, that sounds neat.
And look, I'll show you
Yeah.
the trailer afterwards. It looks really cool. I just forgot to put it in here before. And that's pretty much, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot more on here. We can move on. I think they showed off, no, that's it. Who cares? I guess Monster Hunter looks good, but yeah.
It's Monster Hunter. What do you want?
It looks fine.
See,
We are not the audience for this.
It looks like
And
a better
it's funny.
story.
Like, that's the thing. Monster Hunter looks interesting enough that I think the world looks cool, but not enough for me to play. There was that one that was very story-based a couple of years ago.
Yeah, stories, which is more of a traditional RPG.
Yeah, that looks fun to me, but I have a backlog that is 4 or 5 years long, so see you in 2029.
Yeah, that one's basically Pokemon. So, I mean, it's a little more up your alley. As far as the PlayStation showcase, we'll just briefly mention Concord looks... it doesn't look good from the trailer. I'm reserving judgment because we'll probably get demo review copies or something of it, and we'll see how it is. For a $50 game, it better be outstanding for Hero Shooter because everybody was surprised it wasn't free.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 kind of looks like shit still.
Silent Hill 2 makes me sad.
Because it's
That's
not,
all I can
it's
say.
not a good team making it. Dynasty Warriors Origins was announced. New Dynasty
Looks
Warriors
fun.
engine. Yep. We'll skip those. There's a bunch of Chinese games that all look the same, Souls-like, so we're not going to talk about
The
them.
only controversy that happened post when we were talking during Game Palooza, whatever, was that the Wukong game, Black Myth Wukong, that is now being delayed on Xbox for undisclosed reasons.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think Sony has an exclusivity on it.
No, it has something to do with the game not running well on Xbox or something.
Oh,
like
that doesn't surprise me. There was only one VR title that was shown that looked any good, and that was the Alien Rogue Incursion. Looks terrifying. So,
Yep.
for those 10 people that have a PSVR 2, they'll have fun. I
Those
believe in
10 people.
Well, I think it's actually
true.
an exclusive. It's an exclusive to that.
Yeah, it's
platform.
an exclusive. It's exclusive to PSVR 2.
And they
Yeah,
only
good
sold,
luck.
didn't they only sell like 20,000 of those things?
Yep, and this fall they're releasing the dongle.
So that you can use
Hey,
it on a
Sony,
PC.
if you want to send us one, we'll certainly
Oh,
take a look. But I'm not paying for it.
I
No.
inquired. I even said a loaner unit, and to be like, normally we don't talk about this stuff at the back end. They said no, they don't have any to give out. They don't have any to give out because they were hoping to try to sell them. They're just not selling. Like,
Yep.
like they're not going to invest in one to give out to somebody if they don't think they can sell more.
It's true. I mean, and it's so sad that PSVR looks cool. Like, there's even an Alien game that I'm like, all right, cool.
But
Never
I
gonna
also
play
It's one of the best quote unquote affordable headsets on the market.
if you have a PS5 already, and I look at it and I'm like, I haven't turned
now
on
that
my
now with the PC coming out, with the PC dongle coming out, it is still probably like legitimately if you buy the dongle and the PSVR 2, it is technically the most affordable.
yeah. I mean,
But you need a PC to run that shit. You need like $1,000 rig like I have to run the damn thing.
So at that point, you may as well get a Quest 3, which can do it on its own or plug into a PC. My Quest 2, plugging into a PC can still do it. I just haven't turned on my Quest 2 in like 3 or 4 months because I only turn it on to play Beat Saber every once in a while when I get free credit, which is kind of what everybody's doing with with VR, unless you're a VR streamer.
Now, that's something I've got to say. I'm so glad this VR shit seems like it's mostly starting to pass. Because, like, it caught on kind of, but it's in such a niche audience.
It's hard to market them because it's all about the experience. The games, the games are all shit, and 2, it's hard to even just market them without actually experiencing them.
They are. Good
I've seen one streamer use it.
They're good for a total of 3 things. 3 things, but one of which is porn. So that you can't.
Yeah.
So you can't really sell that to families, which is the market they're trying to go for. So if you take porn out of it, it's good for 2 experiences and 2 experiences only. 1, immersive horror games, because they can be terrifying even with the graphics being janky. It can still be terrifying. But that cuts out maybe 70% of the people that would use VR because they don't want to be that scared.
And 2, exercise.
Exercise. Fantastic exercise tool. That's it. That's really the only key use. Dancing exercise tool. That's basically it.
The only person I've seen use a VR headset and actually make money off of it. There's a streamer I watch. They use it to play VR poker, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing
and again,
else.
it's streamers. That's it. Until Dawn got a remake that nobody needed.
Again, like, the only thing about the Until Dawn remake, it's coming to PC. Thank you.
It's such a fantastic game. Like, more people need to play that and The Quarry. Like those are some fantastic games.
The only problem with Until Dawn is it doesn't look any better than the PS4 version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
So
I think maybe an upgrade in the lighting. That's about it.
And the only thing that was really truly worthwhile here was Astrobot. Looks fantastic.
Period.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I am so down to play that. That is going to be my comfort game. I will get review copy, and I can already tell it's going to have to do a lot to make me not like it. You know what I mean?
I mean, everyone. They did 2 quote unquote games. There was one for the VR and then one for the PS5 launch. And then they were like, yeah, we're making a full game.
Yeah, well,
it kind of reminds me of like Sony's Mario 64. This is Sony's Mario Galaxy.
That's what they're marketing it as.
That's
like, what they're marketing it as. And there was also hands-on during SGF, and people were saying, It's literally that.
They're saying that it's Mario Galaxy mixed with the Kirby game, the most recent one, where you could like
That's really cool.
shapeshift. And for those that haven't had a chance to play the one that was built in, it was already a good like 3-hour game. This is going to be probably closer to 10 hours or more. And the biggest fear was that it was going to be made as a VR2 game, and they thankfully didn't do that. So I mean that's it right now. Look, unless they announce the PS5 Pro later on down the line, they don't have anything else for holiday except for the 2 kids games. So I mean that'll be fun.
And technically Concord's coming out later this year.
You heard what I said. They only have 2 games for the holidays.
Exactly.
Well, again, if we get a review copy, I'm not going to poo-poo it. I'm not going to go in with preconceived notions. I will play it. Hopefully, Mike, you will. If we get it, we better get 2 copies so we can try it together. Because I'm not playing with randos, especially during the review period.
Or at least a PC copy too.
Yeah,
because it's going to be.
PC.
They might.
Yeah, if they send us one of each, then good. Then I'll try it with you, Ken. But like, we'll give it a good try. But like, I have a feeling this is going to be something that magically during the holidays goes and becomes a part of PS Plus Premium for free.
Yeah,
because I don't think they can charge $50 for it.
Yeah, to be fair, they're sending this game out to die.
It's scary.
It's part of the old push for live service games that happened like five years ago.
And not a single executive is still there. They're all fired or retired now. Every single one of them.
Yeah. They're all gone.
Who's fucking left? I guess, well, Herman got promoted. So, yes. And this is not one of the games.
Herman is the only one left, but also Herman was the one that was not pushing this shit. It was everyone else.
Herman's left. He got promoted to CEO of the one division. I'm not counting the business guy that the guy that does the hardware was not. He's just the Sony hardware guy, like not even like a game hardware guy. He's just like Sony.
he's half hardware, half expanded brand stuff with like the TV and shit.
Yeah, and I guess I'm trying to think. Ken Kutaragi's gone. Kaz is gone. He even left the executive board.
Yeah,
I guess there's Shuhei's still there doing indie stuff, and that's it. He's the only guy.
No, Shuhei retired this year.
Well, Shuhei's gone. There's nobody left. Not even and Shuhei was there since the '90s. So yeah, there's nobody left, Mike. They all left, and now all these games are coming to fruition, and they know they're all gone, and they know that they're not going to be successful, but they still have to release them because you can't write off a game that's been in development for 7 years.
Yeah,
it's not like
I mean, but we saw that with like Skull and Crossbones.
That's because that was a contract with an entire country. There's a different story there. But yeah, so going to the Xbox is, as much as we like the Nintendo thing we'll talk about, Xbox still won E3 this year. The first time in its history, I think, that ever did. Because I didn't send it to you.
Xbox needed to win this year.
Yeah, because they've had like 6 years of garbage or not showing anything. They opened up with a trailer for Call of Duty, which looked good, and that hinted at what was going to happen at the end, where they had a good 25-30 minutes of going over it. I did include it in your trailer because I figured you'd see it on your own. Big focus on single player. Lots of options. They're making it more immersive simmy, where you can like. Have you ever played a Call of Duty game, Mike, where you don't have to kill anybody in a mission? You can negotiate your way through.
Negotiate, no. Stealth, yes, but never negotiate. That's cool.
You can barter or trick people into letting you into places.
Ooh.
That's something different.
Also massive movement tech.
Yes. What do they call it? Omni movement?
Yeah.
So are we talking like Black Ops 3 movement? Or
No.
Warfare movement?
No,
like
Mike.
Nothing you've ever seen.
Ooh.
You can strafe in any direction, jump and roll in any direction while firing. You can jump and do like a roll to switch your direction of where you're facing around. Fire your gun. if you hug walls
You can
and lean
yeah,
out,
you can-
your gun will pivot and turn around so that only your gun is showing.
Yep.
Oh man,
Uh,
this is going to change how I approach gunfights a lot.
Yeah, and like you can jump into prone in any direction.
Ooh, swan diving. I love it.
Yes. You can now, instead of just like strafing, you can strafe run in any direction.
Basically,
See,
there was a great quote from that showcase where the dev was going like, we sat in a meeting and we made a list of all the things we don't have in our game, and then we asked ourselves, why aren't they in our game?
Yeah, and they said that what they discussed, because this is the first time in 15 years where they've had a 4-year dev cycle for one of the teams.
Yeah.
They usually have a 2-year cycle, apparently.
Yes.
So this is the most robust single-player campaign since Modern Warfare 2.
Ooh,
The
I'm
original
very
Modern
interested.
Warfare 2. And there's like going to be a lot of cool stuff. It takes place in the early 90s. There's a returning home base, like they have a home base like they did in the Cold War game. They said multiple secrets to uncover within the base, histories and secrets, multiple pathways, just like the last one. Remember how there was a good path, a bad path, and a secret path? They're doing that again. Lots of uncoverables. Maybe they're going to have the arcade machines you can find and things. And then they made a big point of saying round-based zombies is back, and what's the mode we like to play?
Shit, I can't remember what it's called, but it was the mission-based one.
Outbreak.
Yeah.
Yes, they're bringing all those modes back.
Fucking A, you've got my attention right there.
And most of the showcase that they did was entirely focused on how good the single player campaign is, and I was like, oh my god, this tells me this is a Microsoft telling them you make this shit good.
And then
even if next year they're not going to do that, every 3 or 4 years you better get one goddamn one that's good.
But also, and then they also said, hey, we're going to announce all the multiplayer and zombie stuff in August when we have our big event,
which is right before
Gamescom.
My assumption is they're going to show it there, and then during Gamescom they're going to probably do a live demo or beta.
Oh yeah. Like there'll be a beta weekend like they do every year.
Well, they've already said that the beta will be happening. They'll announce all those dates in August. Also, people that have the Game Pass, people that will play this via the Game Pass version, they are getting the standard edition, which gives you access to the beta.
Yeah,
for free.
So you don't you get
free in quotes.
Yeah, you basically get the pre-order bonuses if you're just using Game Pass. Also, the game doesn't come out until October. The full game is already available to preload on your Xbox
because it's 300 gigabytes.
Yeah. Well, if you take away the fact that if you already have Warzone or Modern Warfare 2 on there, it's only a 74 gig download. Now, there's going to be another patch on top of that, obviously, when it goes live, but the base game is already available. So if you have the room and you don't want to wait, you can already have it preloaded for when the demos come out.
Also, another big thing that is in asterisks, it will require an always online connection because it is streaming assets.
Yeah, even for single player.
Yes.
So, I mean, okay, big deal if you're a Game Pass user, blah, blah. You can argue it all you want.
Yeah.
Big deal. It's already there. So, beyond that, crazy big announcement. Doom.
This looks surprisingly cool.
So, they got the guy that did the music for the expansions, I think, to do it.
Yeah. The person that replaced the original composer for the last two Dooms, he's taking over for this version.
For me,
it is a prequel.
Giant kaiju mecha battle.
Yes.
You get in a giant fight, and then you ride a laser dragon.
Yeah, but like the mecha battle is just an evolution of that one sequence in the last game where you get to fight as the demon.
The cyber demon or whatever?
Yeah.
The gun that shoots skulls. Like,
yes.
That's cool.
It shaves it down to shrapnel.
Yeah. Also, another thing that they stated, unlike the last game where they basically used the weapons as you need to defeat a certain monster with this certain weapon. No more. It's more like the Doom 2016 where you can just use whatever weapon you want.
Some weapons might be more effective, but you can use anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And it looks to be, if not open world, larger open zones, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I believe
we'll probably get more information when QuakeCon happens.
And
we'll see something by then.
Newer, slightly updated engine, because this one will only support current gen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. They showed off more of Fable. Still not sold on it, but Game Pass. They showed
and that's
off
next year.
They showed off Indiana Jones. I didn't send you the trailer, Mike. I don't think, because
it's Indiana Jones. I don't care.
You're either gonna like it or you don't like it. Flight Sim.
It looks better.
Yeah,
it looks better than what they showed in January. That's all I can say.
Yeah, State of Decay 3 had a trailer that I would have expected them to show 6 years ago. In that it didn't show any gameplay still, just that it's still in development after.
And that's the thing, like that's
a game. The problem I believe that happened with State of Decay 3 is that it was they were originally making a regular State of Decay game, and now they have revamped it to something completely different.
They're trying to make it look like, even though they haven't shown the gameplay, but it's trying to be like their Last of Us. So they might have changed from like a top-down look to like a third-person look.
Yeah.
South of Midnight looks awesome. That's the one that's like the stop motion in the bayou.
I was wondering if that was still going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to piss people off. I'm going to say it right now, because people have a thing with the way when you mix frame rates, people don't like Spider-Verse because it mixes frame rates. This in a video game, oh my gosh, is going to frick people up.
And yet the second I got the Spider-Verse suit in Spider-Man 2, it's all I used.
Yep, same.
Yep. So Mike, if you played that, that's what this is. The main character and the enemies are animated like that suit, but the world is still at 60. So that should be interesting. Metal Gear, did you see the trailer for that?
I did not, but I've been following it for quite some time.
It's Metal Gear 3.
That's going to be awesome.
They're using the old voices. I wasn't sure if they were. They're using the old voices, but Hader and a few other people were called in to do pickups for new lines. So they either added some things, or maybe some things they had to alter. I'm assuming they added some stuff, which meant they had to call them in, they had to voice their lines, they then had to age it so it sounded like it was recorded in like 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And they also stated in later interviews that they will have a special filter in game to make it look like the original.
That's amazing.
So the pissy green filter is going to be a filter in the game.
See, and this is a game I'm almost positive we'll get for review. I do have a pretty good relationship with the publisher, so I'm looking forward to this. I love Metal Gear. Metal Gear 3 was the game that really sold me on the franchise. Like, I loved Metal Gear 2, but 3 is what really made me a fan. Now, if only Konami would release that Metal Gear Collection Volume 2 at some point, which I imagine
they will.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if that gets shadow dropped before the end of the year.
They might announce it at Gamescom.
That's what I'm wondering, because if they want to build hype for the franchise, release everything else.
I mean, like, everyone has been waiting for the moment where Guns of the Patriots gets off the PS3.
Yeah,
everyone has been waiting for it.
Yeah, just fucking do it already. God damn it.
Yeah,
I'm so looking forward to it.
I think there's an issue with it. And it's not that the coding of it or anything. I seem to remember, I think that was one of the titles and one of the first times where Sony paid for development.
Yes, they did. And oh my god,
there might be some ownership.
The amount of work is insane. Even in the mod scene and emulation scene, it has taken literal years to get that game running at 60 FPS on emulators.
I think it's because they actually had Sony's engineers go over so that they could make it doesn't run on like the Decima engine or anything that they developed later on. It ran a custom engine using assembly code for the cell processor.
Yes.
Which is why it could get 60 FPS at
it requires 60 FPS and like so much work. Like, I would not be surprised if a huge chunk of the price for the 2 collection is going to be just for the development of that.
Probably. But then once they have it, then they have a portable code they can use. So
exactly.
I'll say a few things. They showed off Stalker 2. It's coming out. Cool if you like that kind of game. They showed off some more of the Chinese style games. Big whoop. We'll see if they're any good. They showed off Mixtape. I know I sent you that trailer, Mike.
That looked amazing. That was a highlight for me.
Where it's like you're living through like musical motif 90s stuff. Not going to be streamer friendly, but that's going to be very friendly for the soul, and it's coming in 2025.
They've already stated their with Mixtape. They've already stated there will be a streamer soundtrack.
Okay, so they're doing sound alikes that'll go to it. That sounds good too. But what I saw is like they're listing like a few people, and I'm like, wait, they're listing like 20 people they license music from.
Devo, Roxy Music, Lush, Smashing Pumpkins, Iggy Pop.
Sue and the Banshees, Joy Division, like they're like, Smashing Pumpkins.
I was looking, I was like, this shit's going to be very moody, very moody.
Oh yeah.
And I remember when Alex was sending me a message that he put together that custom trailer stuff for me. He's like, Mike, these are games I know you're gonna like, and if that demonstrates the deep level of understanding and love that Alex has for me, including that trailer, definitely, like, you know me that well.
And to pair with it, I put on one that's for me, and that was the new Life is Strange game.
That looks awesome.
So
like,
the
genuinely
game,
looks amazing.
The first game is the butterfly effect, but it's about her being able to rewind time, a certain amount of time, and also go back in time, send her mind back in time based on when she looks at a picture and has a memory. And then the sequels had really nothing to do with her, but there's like slight connections to the world. This is the direct sequel, and it takes place years later, and it is about Max's new ability is to travel between parallel timelines directly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions that'll be there. It's not Game Pass, but I've already put a pre-order in on the. I'm like, I have a feeling I'm not going to get a review copy, and I have to secure it. I must play.
Yeah.
So I'll probably end up buying it during Christmas time.
Yeah, there is one thing specifically that I want to highlight that I know you guys aren't in on, and that is the Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn.
Oh, that's the Rogue One. That shit looks pretty good, honestly.
It is. It's Souls. It's Souls, 100%. But I love the movement tech in the game makes it so much fun. Like you're flipping around, shooting your gun, and doing all these cool things while being a very Soulsy kind of combat. And I've played the demo. The demo's out, and it's still out on PC and then probably Xbox as well. And that's going to be day one Game Pass, and just like, and they surprised said, "Hey, it's coming out in a couple weeks." Okay, sure.
So I mean, yeah, like it's.
It also has some very Eurojank kind of stuff to it.
Well, it was kind of a shadow drop. Not in that people knew the game was coming. Like I knew the game was coming because they had announced it, but it was one of those ones that flew under the radar. The big shadow announce was that it was going to Game Pass, day one.
Game Pass, and then also I believe this was the announcement of the actual date. We knew it was coming out this year, but we didn't know.
Yeah, I think it had a summer release date. It didn't have like it had a window. Speaking of Eurojank, I don't know if I included the trailer, Mike, but there is a Fallout game, but not Fallout, called Atom Fall, which is like Russian Fallout.
Interesting. So kind of like Metro sort of thing.
With steam mechs and stuff walking around the
Ooh, that
countryside.
sounds kind of fun.
So I'll send that trailer to you separately. I forgot to send it to you, and that's going to be, I think, a Game Pass one as well. Beyond that,
so.
let me think.
The Gears of War looked really
Yep.
interesting to me because like E-Day is something in the Gears franchise that like we've read about in comic books, we've read about in like novels, but to see young Marcus and young Dom, that's interesting to me because I like the idea of seeing the fall of Sarah. I mean, we did see it in the game that featured Baird. We saw what happens prior to the first Gears of War game, but this to literally be on the ground when the Locust really start the invasion. I'm like, I like Gears. I do. I'm not very good at
this is how you get
4 and 5.
This is how you get a lot of the older folks that were fans of the Gears franchise back.
And new people in.
This is reinvigorate.
Because you can end the game. Like, you have the game end, and then you just go to a cutscene, and it ends with the first scene from the first game, right? Like,
yeah, it goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have it end, and then like have a cutscene after the trailer or after the credits, and it's just the main character.
Dom breaking you out of prison. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's how you set up the franchise.
Also,
it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Also, a huge highlight: Expedition 33.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
So
French Final Fantasy.
So here's the thing. There is some shady things that are going on. So back in the day, Ubisoft had a old school Final Fantasy style game that they were working on. And I would not be surprised if some of the devs of that game are working on Expedition 33.
Maybe. Because it looks like they mixed the Persona battle system with some time-based stuff. It looks like Lost Odyssey, but French, and with... Like, I was like, oh, great, another beautiful-looking Souls game that I'll never play because it's too hard.
See, that's what I thought it was, too.
And then it cuts
RPG
the battle
system.
I was watching, cut to the battle system. I was here in the apartment by myself, which was good because I screamed. Like, I am not a very excitable person. I went, "Hi." Wait, what? Wait, no.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I'm like, is it like sort of time based? Was it some tactical? And like about 3 or 4 seconds in, I looked. I'm like, there's a turn order in the top left corner. This is like Final Fantasy X. And and then afterwards I realized it's the main character is the same voice as the main character from Final Fantasy 16.
Yep, because he showed up after the reveal. And also Day 1 Game Pass.
Day 1 Game Pass, and I am so happy that we're getting like French Persona, basically.
Yeah, basically. And
then beyond that, I guess there might be a couple things we can talk about. I'll mention it here because there's not really another good spot, but Dragon Age Veilguard was shown, had a terrible trailer that made me worried that it was going to still be the hero shooter.
Scared literally the entire fan base.
Like, I was like, oh God, please don't. And then they ended up putting out a 20-minute video, which some people complained about, saying that they didn't show enough of what they wanted to see, but it alleviated pretty much all of my worries about it because it looks like...
Here's the problem with Dragon Age as a franchise. There are people that like Origins, and then there are people that don't like Origins.
There are people that liked Origins, and there are people that liked Inquisition, and then there's Alex who liked both. And I'm one of the very few people that likes both.
You are a minuscule minority.
I think
on that.
The reason is the vast majority of people that are mad that this is not like Origins are people that started playing it on PC.
Yes.
I played
These are CRPGs.
I was introduced to the PS3 version, which introduced action controls. So there is no pausing CRPG version on the PS3. So I didn't even know you could do that. So because of that, I'm perfectly fine with it. And it looks really freaking good. Characters look a little more cartoony, but the backgrounds and everything look good. It should be good. I will be playing, very much so. So beyond that, the only other thing that we could really mention here, and I think, Mike, you're going to be hyped, was for Perfect Dark.
Yeah, that looks a lot better than I thought it was going to. Just the fact that you can copy voices and do different infiltration methods. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like
they've gone like Deus Ex immersive sim.
Yeah, it's like Deus Ex meets Cyberpunk, where you can take different approaches to stuff. And I'm thinking, you know what? Finally, that's really cool, because I didn't give a fuck about Perfect Dark when it was on the N64. I know, blasphemy. I liked the 360 version. I really did. And I liked the other version that came out. But this looked like, you know what? I'm in. Why not? Let's see what happens. So I hope it's successful. I want it to be. So yeah, I'm very excited for this.
And then that was pretty much what they had. I mean, they showed off that there's a new console, but it's like, you can get a digital
here's a hardware
version.
refresh. Who gives a shit?
A digital version that of the Series X in white that's got a terabyte of storage, and then a 2 terabyte version of the disc-based one, which is stupid. It should be why would you give less space to the digital only? But anyway, beyond that, they also made mention that they're working on their next gen hardware, which means that we are probably getting it by 2026 for them, and then Sony's is probably more like 2028, because we're probably getting a PS5 Pro this year. Beyond that, there wasn't really much else except a really, really, really good looking cinematic for Diablo 4's expansion. We're talking not just movie quality, like not even from a distance. It looked like real people, except for a couple scenes.
Yeah, and here's the kicker: that was the toned down version.
Okay. Basically, it's
exactly the moment where they toned it down.
Oh, when they split her arms in half and all the veins were pulled out?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the toned down version.
But yes. So moving on, Ubisoft was crap except for the fact that they had bands playing the music for Assassin's Creed and Star Wars, and they announced that, hey, Ubisoft Toronto is working with Ubisoft Montreal or Quebec to try to get Sands of Time done. Hey, it's coming 2026, which is such a sunk cost. Think about this. They spent 3 years developing it in India, only to have it look so bad that they had to cancel it and bring the team over and have them do it in Montreal. And the Montreal team realized how bad of a state it was in that they had to start over from scratch, and they couldn't get it done fast enough, so they had to pull Toronto off of Splinter Cell to do it.
Oh my God! Give me my Splinter Cell already.
Apparently, the Splinter Cell team, it's still in Toronto, but it's being worked on by a skeleton crew, while 90% of the team had to go and help Montreal finish Sands of Time before they lost like $200 million.
I literally just had my head sink. I'm like, I don't care about Prince of Persia. I want Sam Fisher.
I'm sorry, Mike. We're not getting that until next gen.
Please,
I guarantee you.
Please record all of the lines with Ironside before he dies in the next.
Yes, for the love of God, get it done.
Yes.
Now that being said, the guy who did not Double Agent, the Black Cell,
the reboot,
I didn't mind it. I actually thoroughly enjoy that game. Actually, that was one of the few games I came very close to platinuming. I just didn't do the multiplayer stuff. I want Ironside.
The reason I want Ironside is because this is the first one that's being developed in Toronto. They can just
go to his house.
They can pick him up and bring him over, or go to his house to record if he's not well enough.
Yeah,
he lives down the street. So there's not that. There are studios in Toronto, but could they have made it better for him to be able to record again?
They could build one in his house. Like, hey, Michael, we're going to build you a studio. We'll even put a bathroom in there.
We'll pay, or you know what? Yes, you have a nice home, but we'll set you up at the Royal York, and you can have a nice stay at the hotel or something.
Yeah, guys, just get it fucking done. You're right, before he gets too sick to do it.
Because he looked fine in the Blackberry movie, but the only reason he made that was because they filmed his scenes in Toronto. He didn't film in Waterloo. So,
Yeah.
but beyond that, we can move on. There were a bunch of indie
Nintendo
shit.
Direct.
Yeah, and we'll finish, I guess, on the Nintendo Direct, because there hasn't really been much after or before that's worth it in between all those. Just know that the whole thing was good.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo World Champions, Mario and Luigi is back. That has been confirmed that some of the developers on there were from Alpha Dream. They're working
in
with...
pure Nintendo fashion. They still won't tell us exactly what development team is doing it, because Nintendo
they said they
being Nintendo.
They say you have to watch the credits to find out. It's like, that is
like
the
they did with
shit.
like they did with Princess Peach.
Fairy Tail 2 is sequel to the RPG that I reviewed, which is now an action game instead of it's JRPG style. I would prefer it to be JRPG style, but it looks to be maybe the same battle system or similar to the...
It's according to this, they're defining it as an RTS.
It looks like the battle system that was in that really awesome Fist of the North Star game I reviewed in like 2018.
Possible.
Beyond that, Fantasian is no longer stuck in Apple Arcade jail. That is the JRPG from the creator of Final Fantasy, and now he's working with Square for the first time in 22 years to publish
Probably
it.
because everyone that he left because of is not there anymore.
Everybody that left that was an Enix executive when they moved in, and that was a previous executive, is now gone. The new guy, I guarantee you, this is because he could have had Mistwalker publish it through Xbox if he wanted to, because he's done that previously, or Nintendo.
Right.
But the fact that they went with Square, that is the new CEO. That is him wanting to maximize profits, and he sees it as a big marketing opportunity, because if we get Fantasian out and Fantasian does well, this is how you get somebody on board to make an HD 2D remake of Chrono Trigger, is you get the original director back. And not only that, they haven't announced who's making Final Fantasy 17 yet. They've only said that Yoshi P says he won't do it.
Yeah.
And that they don't want the same guy that did 15 to do it. They said they haven't announced.
Of course not. Because the guy that did 15, he's working on Kingdom Hearts 4.
Exactly. Kingdom Hearts 4, and the other guy, and then the only other director that could potentially do it is Yuji Horii, and he's too busy making Dragon Quest 12.
Yes.
As far as like successful guys they have working there. So I just get this hinky feeling that we might actually get the first Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy 9 to be directed by Sakaguchi.
And this will probably be his Sakaguchi's swan song.
His Final Fantasy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, because depending on how they time it, or has he secretly been working on the 9 remake?
Oh God.
That they've still haven't shown, but has been talked about internally. That
we all know exists.
So do they announce that he was working with them on it, and that's how they announced that afterwards he might come back to work on 17 as a guest director or something? So this is the kind of stuff that they need to boost their stocks in Japan, especially. So beyond that, Nintendo Switch Sports has a basketball game in it. Who cares?
And that's supposed to come out later on this summer, free update.
Yeah.
Again, looks fun. I mean, I bought the game when it came out like a year ago, 2 years ago. I haven't booted that game up once.
Exactly.
Which kind of sucks, because Wii Sports was really fun, but I'm so over motion controls, but whatever.
And I mean, I'll skip some of these indie ones, even if some of them look good, but I will mention Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
That looks kind of fun, actually.
The big joke with that is South Park called it. In that
also this is a game that was stuck on Apple Arcade.
Yeah, this was the other one. There was I think 1 or 2 more, and they're all. I think every game is now off of there.
Yeah, the Turtles game is coming out in a couple weeks,
and the Bomberman game I think as well.
Yep.
Or it was out, and then there was one more that was a licensed property. I forget who was it.
Yeah.
It was somebody anyway.
But the fact that Hello Kitty Island Adventure is an actual game that exists is hilarious.
Because, dude, you know that really the most famous episode of South Park, the World of Warcraft one from like 2000 and was it 8?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
2008 or something like that. Butters says they said, "Come on, you've got a PC, aren't you playing World of Warcraft?" No, I'm playing Hello Kitty Island
Hello
Adventure.
Kitty Island Adventure.
They made the fucking game.
They made it manifest.
They made it like 15 years later.
I'm actually kind of surprised South Park hasn't done like a Fortnite crossover yet. Give it time, I guess, or Roblox or Minecraft.
Well, I mean, they did the Snowball Day thing. The Snow Day.
Oh,
Was
right.
one of those.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that's apparently supposed to tie us over till they make another big game. They said, "Oh, we wanted to make some small games during the pandemic," and then it turned out the game took longer to make because they went with a newer company. But regardless, they're making another one. They're making another one.
Oh, for sure.
The Looney Tunes looked okay until we saw it was Game Mill. We'll skip that.
They got better as time's gone on, but yeah, it can be a little rough.
Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is coming in January. Sure. January seems a weird time, but sure. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D looks amazing.
Yeah, looks cool.
It looks like the most work. Surprise!
Yeah,
1 and 2 are getting done as well.
1 and 2. Yeah.
We're skipping the Funko game. Luigi's Mansion, Denpamen is surprising, but big deal. Metal Slug is a mobile game.
Denpamen is also free to play.
The Nintendo Switch Online update, if you have the expansion pass, like the more expensive one, you get a Zelda game, you get the Four Swords Adventures. Perfect Dark, which why would you play it there why would you play that version when the version is available on Game Pass that is like the upgraded version?
Yeah, exactly.
Turok, who gives a shit? But the Metroid and Zelda GBA games are a good deal.
Oh my god, Zero Mission is so fucking good.
And the emulation is actually quite good on the GBA stuff.
The GBA is a good emulator.
Like it's like the filters.
Same about. Yeah, I couldn't say the same about the N64.
No. I was going to say
it's rough.
No, but the GBA one, it is actually pretty solid. Like there are obviously going to be better ones on PC, but like for compatibility wise, it's pretty solid. Phantom Brave is getting a sequel, which I was really surprised that that's one of the notable PS2 RPGs that got ported to the Wii. There was like a handful of RPGs in the Wii, but now this is a sequel. Looks interesting.
It's also apparently coming to everything, I think.
There was some throwaway game, Marvel vs. Capcom. We can move on from there.
This made my summer game fest because honestly, I talked about this in the main show with Alex. In the fighting game community, we thought this franchise was fucking dead. And the fact that Capcom...
2 years of thinking this was dead.
Yeah, like we thought after the mismanagement of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite with, they did the Capcom fighting bundle where you got Darkstalkers and Red Earth and whatever. Cool, but not what I want. I got everything I wanted. Every Marvel CPS2 board from X-Men Children of the Atom all the way up to the Nomi hardware for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Arcade perfect emulation. This is what I've wanted. I'm buying this physical on the Switch. I'm buying it digital on the Switch. I'm buying it digital on PlayStation 4, 5. I've already been in contact with Capcom. I'm like, look, man, who do I got to kill? And if there's a mailer package, you tell me which president you want assassinated, and it will happen. Because this is the reason this is so special to me. It's because I never thought Capcom would realize the fighting game community wants this. Because the last time this stuff was ever ported was in 2010 with Marvel vs. Capcom Origins. And even then, that wasn't everything. Like, we didn't get Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. We didn't get X-Men versus Street Fighter. We got Marvel Superheroes and Marvel vs. Capcom, which is great. But you're missing all these in-between games. And then even when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was ported on Xbox Live Arcade, it was fine, but it wasn't.
It was the Dreamcast version. It wasn't the arcade board because the arcade was the fully 3D one.
Yeah. So like this is great. Like I literally could not be happier. The only thing that would have made this literally perfect would have been including Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with an option to have Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Like you could pick which ROM you wanted to play and maybe Infinite. But there'll be
Honestly,
another
Mike,
collection at some point.
Yeah. Don't be surprised if they re-release 3. And
If they put out Marvel versus SNK and port all those over? Oh yeah.
With Terry coming to Street Fighter, there is no doubt in my mind that the next fighting collection game is going to be SNK Capcom.
Because there was it SVC or whatever. Wasn't there 3 or 4 of them?
There was easily at least 2.
Like
easily.
There were 2 and then
2
or 3 and then variations of each. And I guess
then there was like Neo Geo Battle Coliseum or something like that.
Yeah, I guess they would include those.
Something.
They'll include the portable handheld ones, and then they'll include the 2 mainline arcade ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I would. The next thing is because there's the new King of Fighters coming out, and it looks pretty freaking awesome too. Just wait. I'll bet you that after we're going to see, because right now it's going to be.
Do not be surprised if
like Ryu
when
or Chun-Li
Evo happens at the end of July. Do not be surprised if
Capcom character shows up in King of Fighters.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wouldn't surprise me even if Marvel vs. Capcom gets dropped at Evo, because pre-orders are finally starting to go live in the US. They haven't popped up Canada yet.
They'll announce the date at Evo.
And don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if at Evo they have one demo station set up to show off.
Oh, 100%. 100% they're going to have demos.
And they will trot out someone like Justin Wong or anybody else who's known as a major player from the scene way back in the day.
Get Max, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If Max came out with Justin Wong, like, hey guys, we got something to show you, and they just start throwing copies out into the crowd. First off, dead bodies, but it would be the most magical moment.
You know, I'm not a big fan of like people doing fake reactions where they overblow things and or scream for the sake of screaming and that.
Yeah.
I saw his reaction, and some of it can be a little exaggerated at the end, but the first little what was like one thing when he does the what that sound.
Yeah,
you should have heard me when I saw it.
Well, you don't make that the way he sounded. You don't make that sound if you're faking it.
Yeah,
and
that was pure love right there.
He's the man that's behind the Free Marvel 2 campaign. So.
Yeah. So like that reaction, I was like, oh, is that big of a deal? And then I kept seeing people online being like, everybody thought for a second that, oh, is it gonna be MVC 1 and Marvel vs. Street Fighter?
Right.
They thought it was going to be those two, and then when it pops up showing all of them and MVC 2 is when everybody went nuts in the community, because they're like,
oh yeah,
they thought that if you were to ever get 2, they thought it would be a full $50 game by itself.
There were also a couple of reactions where it's just like, please tell me this is not just Switch.
Yeah, I was really worried, but I was like, I don't care. This is perfect for the Switch.
No Xbox because the game engine doesn't support Xbox.
Yep. Well, no, the game engine doesn't support modern Xbox.
Yeah. Sorry. It supports Xbox One, but it's incompatible with Series X with Smart Delivery, which is what's required.
Yes.
So because of that, you're not getting it. And let's be honest,
but it's on Steam anyway, so that's fine.
The people, they're going to be. The honest thing is, casual fans will pick it up on Switch.
Yeah, 100%.
Hardcore fans, hardcore regular fans will be playing it on PS4 on their PS5 because it'll be like whatever.
Yeah.
And then tournament fans will be playing it on PC.
Like I'm already looking at getting fight sticks for this.
It's PS5. It'll be PS5s or PC depending on latency and stuff like that.
Yeah. People like streamers will be playing it on their PC at home, And
Yeah.
then when you go to the tournaments, it'll be just a whole row of PS5s hooked up playing it in backwards compat mode.
Yeah.
Mario Party Jamboree, new Mario Party to end off the console, looks actually pretty good. It's apparently mostly new games.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool.
It is all new mini games. They're bringing back 2 legacy boards from Mario Party 1, which it's the one board that people don't like from Mario Party 1. But to be fair, most of Mario Party 1's boards suck.
Yeah, 2 and 3 had the better boards.
Yeah.
Mario Party 7 was the one I had the most fun with.
Legend of Zelda, actual
I
Legend of Zelda.
don't know how to feel about this.
I do not like Breath of the Wild at all. I really like this.
I'm curious.
They're playing it more like a puzzle game than a
combat.
It feels like one of the Capcom handheld games.
Well, but also think about this.
Yeah.
It shouldn't play the same because you
It's
don't have the same Triforce power.
But it's also it also has a little bit of that Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom DNA.
Yeah, a little bit
versatile in terms of what you can do.
And it's Echoes of Wisdom. Obviously, it's in the title, but Zelda is the one that was always in control of the Triforce of Wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So what is it? Her entire gameplay and battle mechanics are based on your own wit.
Yeah, so she's not playing as Sheik. She's literally playing as herself, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yes, playing as herself, having to use her mind as her wisdom, her part of the Triforce. Ganon always had the Triforce power because he's overpowering, brute, and Link was always Triforce of courage. So the courage meant he had to go on the journey where he had to, persevere. This is a very different. I like that they're taking that into play. It's not just making it Breath of the Wild for the sake of it. There is a reason as to why she's not just using her sword. She could use a sword if she wanted to. The reason she isn't is that's not what her virtue is.
Yeah. Again, I'll give it a whirl if I get a review copy. I may even buy it if I see it on sale where they take off like $20. Yeah, sure, maybe. But I haven't enjoyed it.
It's Nintendo. It's a miracle when they take off $20.
Yeah, it happens like once a year during like June or something. Like, it's weird. Like, I haven't enjoyed a Zelda game really in a long time. Although the last game I really enjoyed, honestly, that was a Zelda title, was the one that was Dynasty Warriors based, kind of. You know which one that I mean?
The second
one I had,
not the first one. The first one that didn't run right.
Yeah, the second one I actually had a lot of fun with, and I got through 3/4 of it, and I really had fun with it. The thing that surprised me when this Nintendo Direct closed off, and this is a hint towards Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4 showing stuff off.
Yeah, it was clearly running on the Switch, but it also gave you the impression that, there could be a lot more when you play it
under
on
the hood.
a next gen. The other thing, the only gripe I had with it, and I never played the trilogy. My brother did because he had the GameCube. I didn't have the GameCube because the GameCube was for children. That was my thought when I was 15. I was like, this is a children's console. And I mean, it was, right? Like, I was like, there's no RPG.
Shows Resident Evil 4 and Eternal Darkness.
Dude,
but you are right. You are right.
When it launched, it was a children's console with like one mature game, right? Like, why would I have played that when I had?
And Resident Evil.
I would say the Wii is worse.
I also
the Wii is way worse.
I also wanted to watch movies on my TV.
That's true. Yeah,
fair.
Totally fair. Yeah,
but I'll say this: for guys that have played Prime, were all the games like this? But it feels like there's no weight to any of the shots. It's like you're just shooting a random thing, and there's no recoil. It doesn't appear to be any force feedback.
It got better. It got better as things went on. Like Metroid Prime 3 Corruption felt a lot better in terms because Metroid Prime 1 and 2 were different.
Yeah. The only problem with 3, that was the one that came out on Wii, wasn't it?
Yes, so it had the motion controls, but there was a port that came out on the Wii U where you could turn those off. I think.
No, there
I
wasn't.
don't
Yes.
remember. Oh,
Was there?
yes, because it's the one that came
That was
in
the limited trilogy thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if we get Metroid Prime 2 and
But-
3 released sometime before 4 comes out.
But did you
Four
notice
will
though, that
be will be their fall game.
yeah,
Oh, for sure. That
And
is their
it-
holiday title for
it's
sure.
gonna be a cross buy. It'll be a cross buy.
Cross gen. Yeah.
Like I think when you buy it, I think you'll buy the Switch version, and then it will download a patch or something, or maybe they have delayed it so that they can have both code on the same cart, sort of thing.
Mhm.
But
I
I'm
mean,
looking
the
at
only, yeah. Again, MVG has made comments about how the Switch runs their system, and everything will need a patch if they want to play on Switch 2.
yeah. So this might have been a delay so that they could also include that patch on the cart. So like if it detects, hey, I'm playing this on the Switch 2, install this piece of data as well, sort of thing. But did you guys notice that when she was shooting, that there was no like visceral feedback that she was actually shooting? It was just like, here's some lights coming out of the gun and the enemy dies. It didn't look like there was any impact.
I think that's because it's
her
I think
standard
because yeah, it's because her standard cannon. But
if it's her missile launcher, then you'll feel
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Who is that like Bomberman Xbox looking?
He is. Someone pointed out on a podcast I was listening to actually this morning as we're recording it. He is one of the characters from the Metroid Prime spin-off game.
That Federation
Hunters.
Force thing? Oh, Hunters.
Hunters.
Okay, that's cool. All right, that's
He's a
cool.
character from Hunters.
I'm
Okay,
into that.
so-
That's
I
neat.
mean, it was pretty good. Like it was clear that Xbox and Nintendo saved this whole thing, like this whole summer, because there was a lot of really the indie stuff was good, but I'm like, Sony hasn't shown up, and Sony was propping up the industry the last 3 years,
Yeah.
Yes.
and like legit, like for real.
But there's no WoW game from them outside of maybe Astrobot.
They've like run out. Like there's games that we're gonna love, but there's not anything right now beyond that. Like I wrote down just a question. We can maybe trim it down, but like, are there maybe 2 or 3 games that you're most anticipated that are coming out for the rest of the year?
Okay, yeah, I'll take this first because mine's probably the shortest list right now. 3 games. I'm going to try and get across as many as possible, or across the widest breadth. I would say for me, Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. Really excited about that. Gears of War E-Day looks amazing, and I'm very excited to go back to the Gears of War universe. And then, no surprise, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. Those are my 3. Those are the 3 franchises that I feel the most close to as nostalgia, but I like what I see in terms of gameplay. Now, that being said, I haven't seen what Gears of War is like. It's Gears. I know exactly what I'm going to expect. I'm excited to see where the lore goes. And because I'm that loser who likes video game weaponry, I'm curious to see what the retro stuff looks like in the COG army. I saw a retro Lancer in the trailer. I'm curious if we'll see more of the retro guns. So I'm very excited for that and just to see what happens. And Marvel vs. Capcom, I've contacted a friend of mine who's an electrical engineer. We're talking about modifying fight sticks right now. So that is how I'm into this. So those are my top 3 right now. Honorable mention to G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra, and probably Dear Boy and Mixtape would be my other honorable mentions.
I think I'll go next here. My 3 would be Astrobot. I'm all down for a new Mario game, and if Nintendo's not going to give me a Mario game, Sony can give me a Mario game. Life is Strange. I'm all down for my narrative adventure game, which is going to have spooky moments as well as, very
Feels.
gut wrenching decisions. And then my 3rd is probably, at least right now, the Dragon Quest HD 2D. So a bit of a variety there. I would say 2 of these are AA games, and one being Astro. Astro is clearly a AAA title. Like it is the most Mario of Mario games that isn't Mario ever. So what you got, Ken?
So for me, we didn't touch on it this during this pod, but last year they announced a game called Anton Blast, which was the WarioWare like, or the Wario Land like, and it is coming out in November. And just take my money now. Wario Land 4 specifically is one of my favorite GBA games of all time, like hands down. And speaking of GBA, number 2, Mario Luigi Brothers Ship, again, just take my money. Superstar Saga is one of my favorite games, period, of all time. And for them to bring back a franchise that I thought was dead when Alpha Dream shut down is just like, okay. And it looks great. It looks like it's mixing the style of the newer Mario Luigi games with the old school sprite work.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It looks more. It definitely looks like the cover art of the
I'm glad that they're
original
not stuck
3.
using like the bland generic Mario marketing that they did for like the Wii and Wii U.
Yeah.
So
thank you Mario Movie, for getting Miyamoto busy with other shit and not forcing everything to be generic as shit.
Yeah.
I swear, as soon as Miyamoto started working on the Mario Movie, all the cool Mario stuff started coming into development.
Yeah, you go over here and work on this theme park, and then just deal with that. So, do you have a third one?
And number 3, like hands down, I would say I'm excited for Zelda.
I see that. So, for you, it's basically all Nintendo based stuff, or sort of Nintendo.
I mean, in terms of like chomping at the bit, and then like Flintlock would be like a second.
Yeah,
would be like a number 4.
Because there's other stuff that I'm looking forward to that's obviously coming next year. But yeah, like it's interesting what this fall is going to be like. Now there still might be a few things announced, especially on Sony's end, which obviously would mean probably a PC release for some things too. So
and also Gamescom, which I'm guessing at Gamescom Square is going to announce 16 coming to PC.
I'd hope so. Like, and that sort of goes into like the sort of last question I had here, which was like, is there anything that you're surprised wasn't announced or shown? I'm surprised that we didn't get the PS5 Pro shown, and I'm surprised that we had nothing again from 16. We also didn't have. There were some prominent things that were shown the last few years that just didn't show up. Arc Raiders wasn't shown. That's that shooting game on the PC that was made by all the devs that left DICE.
Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Silk Song.
Exactly. Silk Song still not if that isn't announced with a date at Gamescom, it's not coming. I think the game's dead then.
No, I think the game's still alive. It's just Team Cherry is 3 people. 3 freaking people made Hollow Knight.
One of the things that... Oh, sorry, Ken, go ahead.
They just need to... honestly, all Team Cherry needs to do is just make a statement and communicate on why it's taking so long. If they're changing... Like, say they're changing away from Unreal. Or Unity, I mean. If they're changing away from Unity, totally understandable. Just communicate that. That's all we want.
The game that I'm surprised didn't see anything, because us in the Transformers fandom were really hoping we'd see something.
That game.
Transformers Reactivate. And here's the fucked up thing, because again, I approach it from the toy industry mostly, right? Like I've got a relationship with like Hasbro, and there are 2 Transformers Reactivate 2 packs. There's an Optimus Prime and Soundwave, and a Bumblebee and Starscream. Those are mysteriously starting to go down in price at certain retailers right now. Now that could just be coincidence, but I'm gonna say not, because the trailer, as far as I know, has been pulled from YouTube and nobody's talking about it. There was a conversation that happened at a toy show in, I want to say, Australia in the last couple of months. And the community manager was very dodgy about answering questions about it. Now, I wasn't the hugest...
We could see that at Gamescom.
Yeah, like maybe, but I'm not the biggest fan of the idea behind Transformers Reactivate anyway. And there was a cinematic that was leaked a couple of months ago, which I thought actually looked kind of cool. But I don't know, man. Unless we see something by the Game Awards in November or in December, this game is dead. It is never coming out.
Yeah,
which is sad as fuck.
And like going back to 16 PC, I knew it was going to be a while. It wasn't going to be a full year. Yoshi P specifically said, like, we're making sure it's good. And announcing it at Gamescom would make sense, because then 14 expansion will be out by then. 14 expansion, as we're recording this, is coming out on Friday. But also, they can coincide it with like a complete edition on PS5 and drop that as well as a holiday
like
title.
a bundled. Yeah, they could totally do that.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is we have to wait to see THQ Nordic, because all their stuff.
What's left?
They have. We looked it up. They have 3 AAA studios left that they own, or one of which is Crystal Dynamics, which is working on Perfect Dark and Lara Croft for Amazon. They have 2 because they have 2 studios, and one is working on one and one is working on the other. They also have Eidos Montreal, which they said isn't working on Deus Ex, but they won't say what they've been working on. But whatever they've been working on for 2.5 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
So they might announce something there. And the third studio they have that is Dam Buster, and I don't know what they're working on. The only other game that they could really show off any gameplay of at Gamescom or at their own showcase that people are worried about that it either is going to be really good or it's going to be really bad was the Turtles Last Ronin.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
To quote the Jimquisition, 44 Axe Studios, 80 Axed games, 4,532 Axe jobs. Yep.
They literally kept 3 AAA studios, 2 of which were fucking owned by Square Enix until last year. They literally were only able to keep 1 studio that was a homegrown studio, and it's because that's the one that did what was it, Dead Island 2, I think, and something else, and then the rest are like AA studios that make licensed games mostly. Most
of those studios shut down.
Gearbox had nothing to show because they're going through turmoil of being bought out, and their movie's going to suck this summer.
Oh my god!
Yep.
We are so going to talk about that when that comes out. Holy!
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Oh boy!
And the rest of the stuff, the
PG-13.
All of the interesting studios outside of the 3 that I mentioned, all of the interesting studios that were part of THQ Nordic are now a part of their own company, which we won't see anything
because they bought themselves out.
because they made enough money that they said fuck this, and they used their employee money to buy themselves out of the company. So
literally the head of the studio owns the company that bought them out.
Yeah.
So the entire company bought themselves out.
So like all of the quote unquote good AA and 1 or 2 AAA studios that made the good shit for THQ Nordic are now gone, and they better freaking hope that their acquisitions from Square Enix and the one studio that they have, I guess you could count that one that's making Last Ronin as a AAA because this is their first AAA game, but they were a AA studio. But like in reality, they've only got like 3 or 4 games that could maybe work, and then they have the one other AA studio, I forget the name of it, but the one AA studio that's actually their good AA studio that does a lot of the remasters. They're doing the remake of Epic Mickey,
Knights of the Old Republic.
Well, yeah, and Epic Mickey. And the Epic Mickey apparently has, I think it has a date now, as of today. Yes. And that's probably going to be the featured showcase item on their showcase, which is going to be, I think, the 2nd or 3rd of August. And then whatever is shown there will probably have a lead into the end of August with the opening night live for Gamescom. We probably will not cover THQ showcase on a separate prototype. We'll lump that in with our coverage of Gamescom because
it just makes sense.
It just makes sense unless in between those two, Sony drops out all their information on the PS5 Pro. There's no reason for us to come back from break to talk about it.
Yeah.
I
guess that pretty much.
I guess I'll mention that the other prototypes that we'll have throughout the summer is stuff that Birdman mentioned. We're probably going to be doing a Final Fantasy one, and whatever other games you complete, we'll probably do a discussion on.
Yeah, because I think it might be kind of fun for Alex to you and I do a very casual summer backlog episode. No real structure other than like, what have you been playing? What's in your backlog? What are you currently having fun with right now? Or what's a game you wish that you'd gotten to? Because I know Alex wants me to finish Persona 4 finally, and that is already loaded onto my PlayStation. I've got Final Fantasy 7 literally once Monday comes around on non-Canada Day, don't ask. I'm gonna be playing that after I get home from baseball, and I'm gonna be playing Mech Warrior 5 in preparation for Mech Warrior Clans. And I'm gonna play a lot of RPGs this summer, and I'm gonna play some casual stuff to actually have fun for a change. I'm also might play some other stuff I just haven't gotten around to. Like, I really want to finish the Life is Strange game because Alex has said those are quick games, they're engaging games, and it's something me and Blair can probably sit here and just kind of watch 100%. And play together.
Whenever a major decision has to happen and it pauses, you can have a discussion as to which you want to pick.
Blair, get in here.
Well, what they do is there's ramifications. When you make your choice at the end of a chapter, it will pull up all the choices you made and tell you the percentage of the world that picked the same choices as you.
See, I like how they did that during Star Trek Resurgence, which, did you ever get a chance to play that, Alex?
Well, yeah, I beat it.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah.
I did that during my backlog stuff of Christmas time.
That might be kind of a fun thing for you, me, and Aaron to talk about, but that's a side conversation.
The team that worked on that, they pulled a lot of those ideas from the Life is Strange games.
All right, guys. So sorry, yeah, it has been a long show, guys. It has been a long gaming season. So hopefully, like I said, big thanks to Ken and Alex for putting this together. We still have a couple of pieces of content to record this week. As far as I know, Alex is putting this up today or tomorrow, whatever. I'm recording with JT. That'll be out sometime in early July. I'm recording with David Denoyer on the Wishmaster franchise. And yeah, and then me and Ken are going to be doing some cool stuff that you'll be able to hear on the site and on radio. I'll post some details about that once I get the details worked out with my station director. And it'll be a lot of good times. And again, you two are absolute troopers for doing all this stuff. I really thank you for your insights and your expertise during this exceptionally busy gaming season. Since Keeley took over, it seems like there's 10 times more shit now. So I certainly can't keep up. I'm old. I'm going to go yell at it at cloud streaming. So anyway, until next time, for the prototype, we have been
Alex, the producer,
and Ken from This Anime.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. Happy gaming. Play something out of your backlog because holidays are coming. And that's a lot of games. We'll talk to you guys soon, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.